What's up, Brian Tong here, and there is still so much to talk about before the end of the year. We've got iPhone 18 Pro, iPhone 18, and iPhone 17 e-news, plus a new Mac Pro with a freaking M5 Max chip. Yeah, but let's start with the iPhone because, of course, we're going to start there first. There have been leaks everywhere from Apple iOS code and other sources lately, but we know that just like every year, there will always be a new phone, and that always means new leaks. The latest report from The Information says that next year's iPhone 18 Pro and 18 Pro Max will be the first equipped with an under-display Face ID, and the front-facing camera will be moved over to the top left corner of the screen. Along with this change, it also means the iPhone 18 Pro models will not have a dynamic island pill-shaped cutout at the top of the screen. But just to be consistent with their own other phones, why not just keep it in place? Or are they going to bring back the notch, but only for the dynamic island type information? Because that's not my favorite idea. But the iPhone 18 lineup will still basically look the same as the 17, except for this layout change and the underscreen Face ID. Now, Apple will reportedly also be adding a mechanical iris to at least one of the rear cameras on the iPhone 18 Pro to allow for variable aperture so that the camera can act even more like a DSLR camera. Ming-Chi Kuo has reported earlier that the main 48 megapixel camera on 18 Pro will get this variable aperture, so you can adjust the amount of light passing through the lens and reaching the sensor to control the bokeh depth of field effect on your shots. Remember, Apple already does this through software and its depth sensor data when it takes a picture, but the edges of, let's say, certain types of hair and other small details can get blurred out because of this. Now, the 18 Pro is expected to get a new A20 Pro chip made with the latest 2nm fabrication process from TSMC for more powerful performance that's more power efficient as well. Now, iPhone 18 will reportedly fix the number one thing most people are annoyed with. According to The Information, the camera control button will end up removing the touch sensitivity and haptic feedback it has on the standard iPhone 18 model. The report did not say if this will also be happening to the Pro models, but I like the idea at first, but more often than not, I would accidentally hit it or it would go into a different mode, and that was frustrating, and a lot of users complained about it going off accidentally. Like, you are not the only one. And I actually loved the idea, but the haptics were, right, they were a little too specific, and you had to really be precise to be able to use it effectively. So I'm one of the users who just stopped using camera control and used it as a launch button for the camera app. I don't know how you all feel about camera control in general. You can let me know, but could they make it better and find maybe a sweeter spot between the haptics and the physical pressing of the button down? Maybe. But this could also reduce costs for the base model iPhone 18 by removing the button's capacitive layer. At the same time, I doubt that cost gets passed on to us. Like, is that layer a $3, $5, $10 cost at the production level at most, or even cheaper? Look, we're 9 months away from the iPhone 18, iPhone 18 Pro, and the rest of the lineup, so we will find out in good time. And what about the iPhone Air 2? Remember, there were all these reports that production had ceased and it wasn't selling well, and it was another failed attempt by Apple for that other iPhone model they've been trying to sell. Well, we'll never know how good or how poorly it did, but I know that it was easily my favorite iPhone of the year. Did you see the video? You need to watch that whole thing. And I knew the compromises it had, but I love how sleek and light it is, and I can get through a day generally with the way that I use my phone without having to charge. So I'm good with that. Wait, now I just thought about, now I know how iPhone mini users have felt for years. I sound like one of them, right? So now here you could add on an ultra wide camera with this next gen, and that makes the Air even easier for me to recommend to someone. And according to reports, Apple is aiming to actually make the next gen Air more attractive in two ways. One of them, they're considering adding a second rear ultra wide camera, and they absolutely should, all right? And they're also considering lowering the price on the iPhone Air 2. That was, for me, probably its biggest challenge, right? You are paying for this level of design, but it was starting at $999 without an extra camera and versatility and other limitations. Then you got the 17 Pro that was starting at $1,099, just $100 more. If I was a sane value consumer, I'd just go up to the Pro. The $999, that difference, yeah, it makes sense to go for Pro, but I'm not that sane consumer. I love the direction of the design, and it feels So good in hand. I still can't get over it. But Apple will now reportedly skip an Air refresh in 2026 and then look to release the iPhone Air 2 in spring of 2027. You're thinking, spring? Well, that's when Apple will also reportedly move to a 2 iPhone event launch schedule for different iPhone models over the course of the year. All right, we've got more iPhone to talk about, but first, let's take a moment to thank the sponsor of this video, UBG. It's an app that you download onto your phone for either the Apple App Store or Google Play Store that allows you to get eSIM data plans in over 200 destinations around the world. There are no out-of-pocket charges or surprise roaming charges. You don't have to lock in for a long commitment of time either, and it's the only app rechargeable even without Wi-Fi connection or cellular data credit left. Now, the eSIM data plans will activate when you arrive at your destination as long as you have activated your eSIM and select it as the source of your mobile data. There is no need to swap out a physical SIM card because this is eSIM. And when I was in Japan, I didn't want to rent a pocket Wi-Fi and carry something extra around with me. I just went with eSIM. Plus, you can tether your plan to share your connection with other devices that are on the same trip with you as well. So use promo code Brian Tong to get a 10% discount and click on the link in the description to get signed up today with UBG. Okay, let's get back to the iPhone chatter and let's move over to the iPhone 17e. The information reports that the 17e will address the biggest thing that I criticized the 16e for: no MagSafe wireless charging. The 16e has Qi wireless charging at up to 7.5 watts, but it's not magnetic. I get that, right? Yes, it's the budget model, but still, come on, Apple. That's going to change with the 17e, which will reportedly support faster magnetic wireless charging speeds around 20 watts to 25 watts. Hey, it's time, Apple, and I like how it sounds like you're listening to us, but we'll have to find out if that actually happens. Now, the new iPhone 17e will also reportedly be equipped with a second generation C1X modem for cellular connectivity that debuted in the iPhone Air. You can expect to see the iPhone 17e this coming spring of 2026, and it looks to be an incremental upgrade as well. And in case you wanted a little nugget about the 20th anniversary iPhone, that's rumored to have that seamless design with a curved glass body that wraps around the edges. Yes, it's still expected in 2027, and it will also have the under-display Face ID system that we talked about earlier, but there still have not been any solid confirmed reports that it will truly have those curves around the edges. People are saying it, but there are no CAD designs or major reports or leaks that anyone can confirm that they've actually seen it yet. So it's expected to be a very ambitious design for Apple's 20th anniversary iPhone, similar to that huge leap that was made with the iPhone 10, which I loved. You know, we need that concept car idea of a phone, something that gets people juiced, right? There's so many of these iPhone leaks, but hey, which one do you think is the real deal? Just take a leak that you think is really going to happen and why. Hey, put it in the comments. All right, enough about the iPhone. Let's talk some iMac. Finally, some news here. According to leaked internal software, it's been discovered that Apple is actively testing an iMac with an M5 Max chip, okay? And that would be a huge jump because currently you can only configure a 24-inch iMac with a standard M4 chip, which is more than good enough for most people, but an M5 Max feels like something more for an iMac. Like, could Apple be working on the long-rumored iMac Pro? Like, I used to get asked about that iMac almost every week until people started giving up hope. Both Bloomberg's Mark Gurman and analyst Ming-Chi Kuo previously said it was in the works. We still don't know for sure, but you can't be testing an M5 Max chip in an iMac and not be putting that in some type of pro-level machine. You just can't, right? A new report from Korea's The Elec reports that Apple is also working on a new 24-inch iMac, but this one will feature a new OLED display with the goal of completing its development as early as 2027. That's just development and not production, so that actually feels very far away for me. The Elec says Apple has sent requests to Samsung Display and LG Display for the development of this 24-inch OLED panel for this new iMac. Now, currently, they're using a 4.5K LCD panel with LED backlighting. The iMac is not even mini LED or OLED like some of its other products are. So this would be a big jump for the iMac display, but we're talking about, what, at least 2 years from now? So if it's all going in for OLED and an iMac does actually happen, yeah, we'll see. But this is the first we've heard of OLED displays really coming to an iMac or even in that supply chain and talks of those early parts. And there are plenty of reports that OLED is also finally coming to future MacBook Pro models and entering into production next year as well. And then after that, MacBook Airs with OLED displays are expected to be up next in the line. So OLED's coming in like 2 or 3 or 4 years. All right, that is gonna do it for this video. If you like what you see, give me that thumbs up, subs up, and hit that notification bell, ding, to get all my latest videos when they drop. And if you want more of that Apple goodness, you can check out my weekly Apple Bits XL audio podcast with the latest stories and special guests. Plus, you can support all my content with an ad-free version of the podcast, early access to my content, and exclusive content at patreon.com/BrianTong. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all on the next video because there's plenty more to go before the end of the year. Take care, everybody, all right? Peace and love.